Welcome to the second pour of Sip and Spill, a new podcast where the people behind the game get the microphone. Honest and unfiltered conversation with spouses of coaches and players. Unsung, but on Sip and Spill, they take center stage. Sip and Spill is sponsored by Summit Credit Union, by Habish and Rotier, by Red and White Wine Bar in Wanakee, by Evie & Co. Boutique in Wanakee, and by the spa at Autumn Organics. Today's guest on Sip and Spill is Megan Tressel. Her husband Mike is entering his 31st year of coaching. He's been the defensive coordinator for Wisconsin football the past 3 seasons. Megan and Mike have been married for nearly 30 years and are parents to 2 children. My captain and your host for Sip and Spill is Kari Heller.
Welcome to our second pour. Megan, cheers, girl. Let's have a little sip to begin Sip and Spill. Our listeners don't even know that we've already had like a 45-minute conversation. So I wanted to just say thank you. Welcome, Megan. Now, a little bit of history of us two. So this is number 2. I had Kathy Sheffield on for my first guest. And I forgot to mention a few things. Like, I didn't even tell her my glory volleyball story. So that's for another time, but hopefully each one will get better and better. But like, we met a couple of years ago through a mutual friend who you had never actually met.
Only met her once.
Only met her once, but not in person.
In person.
Oh, in person.
Yep.
Okay, I couldn't remember what that was. And then Megan and I, we had a friendship before we even saw each other face to face, getting you like some information, acclimating you to the area, whatever. But I thought the most fascinating thing that you told me in between those messages that we shared was that you were building a house in Cincinnati that you never moved into, and you had to sell before you moved here to Wisconsin.
We did.
Oh, my goodness.
We did.
And do you just chalk that up to life as a football coach? I mean, like, who knew when you first started planning?
I think my husband knew.
You think your husband knew. And
but he can't say no to me. Yeah. That's why our marriage works.
Okay, that's great.
No, we knew that was going to be a risk. I mean, in this business, first of all, thanks for having me. I feel like I should say that first before we jump in. But
I love it.
In this business of coaching, you never know where you're going to be. So in that scenario, I stayed back. We were at Michigan State for 15 years, and which is a whole nother thing that we'll get into because that's not typical in this career either. But I stayed back in Michigan to graduate Quincy from high school, and we were building this house, and we thought it was going to work out, and it didn't.
Yeah. And like you said, we'll get into all of the timeline of all of that, but you were in Michigan State for that long, and you were planning to move back to Cincinnati.
Yes, because Mike was already there. So Mike left Michigan State and went to Cincinnati when Quincy was halfway through her junior year of high school.
Okay.
And she had been in that school system since she was in preschool.
Okay.
Again, not a typical. My kids are not typical coaches' kids.
Yeah.
So we had to see her through.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure she really appreciates you. Let's talk about your kids. Logan, 24. He's an assistant coach at UAB.
He works in operations. So he's like administrative staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Support staff.
Now, I have to ask this before we get to Quincy. In his line of work, you know how some kids want to be actors or singers or whatever. Is this kind of like the same thing? Like, did you encourage him to maybe find something else? Or were you like, okay, this is cool. It's what dad does. You know, it's like, I'm sports minded. I played in college. Like, okay, cool.
That's a really hard question because as a parent, you want your kid to follow their dreams.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But his freshman year, so Logan went to Michigan State, and his freshman year, he coached with Mike.
Okay.
And it was honestly the coolest experience for me as a mom to see him on the field, you know, working with his dad. And it gave Logan, I think, a real appreciation for his dad and how hard he works.
Sure.
You know, they see him on Saturdays, but they don't see him day to day in his life. And so I loved that. And after that experience was done, Logan said, "Oh, I loved it, but I don't want to coach."
Oh,
I was like,
okay.
"Amen."
Okay, so in a way, yes. Like,
Yeah.
in a way, you're kind of like,
But he loves athletics.
Yeah.
He loves
Yeah.
football. And he's one of those kids that just knows stats and players and all that stuff. And so he's almost where he needs to be.
Sure.
I think he would love to get into scouting. And I think he'd love to be in the NFL. But he's really happy where he's at. And this is a great first job for him. He's 24 years old.
Yeah.
You know, he's just out of college barely. And he's had a couple of experiences in the NFL that have been amazing. And this is his first full-time job. So
love that.
it's awesome for him.
I love that.
Yeah.
Go Logan. Like, he's figuring out life and becoming an adult really quick.
He is.
Probably, right?
He
Figuring
is.
things out, 24. And
He moved really far away from home. He lives in Birmingham, Alabama. That is far. And especially when he went to college 15 minutes away from us, you know? And then when we moved to Cincinnati, obviously we were away from him, but it was a huge move for him.
yeah.
Huge.
And he graduated from Michigan State.
He did.
Okay.
He did.
And then you have Quincy, who is a Michigan girl.
She is.
Blue versus green.
Gross.
I know you have said to me before that you literally taught your kids to hate Michigan.
We did.
Because you were a Michigan State family. Hey, so
We were all green. We
what
were green and
happened?
white. She's maize and yellow or gold, whatever their colors are. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those terrible colors. But
Okay.
yeah. And it's really funny because when it came time for her to go to college, she knew she didn't want to go to Michigan State. She did not want to go where her dad was. And I really appreciated that.
Sure.
And it's just a weird thing when your dad works in Division I athletics. That's a lot of, she'd have a lot of access to a lot of men, and I didn't want that.
Right. And kudos to her for, you
Yeah.
know, feeling strong. And
Yeah.
then you all, like, just supported her.
Absolutely.
Like, of course, just like
Absolutely.
you're supporting Logan, obviously.
Absolutely.
So, excellent. We are going to move on to you.
Okay.
Tennis, number 1 at Cornell College, doubles, and number 2, singles, all 4 years.
All 4 years.
But high school, varsity, 4 years.
I was.
Okay. So, does being an athlete in college help you in the coach's life? Coach's spouse, wife. Coach's spouse's life. Messing that up a little. One drink of wine and
I think what's interesting for us is Mike and I met, you know, we went to a small D3 college. We were both athletes. Mike was raised a D3 coach's kid. So in D3, you play for the love of the game. You don't play because you're getting money or a free education. You literally play because you love the game. So I think for me, that piece in our life, and for Mike, honestly, has been really important because I never thought we were going to be in Division I. Like, that was not the plan.
Sure.
The plan was I was going to be a school counselor. Mike was going to be this D3 coach.
Yeah.
Probably teach some classes, you know, at the college level. Mike is super smart. And our life just took a completely different turn when Logan was about 18 months old. So the reason why I think it's helpful is I think it keeps us grounded. I think we have a great appreciation for what we have and where Mike is at in his career because it is so not what the plan was.
right. And how long were you at? He coached D3.
He coached D3. We started out at Division II. We started out at the University of South Dakota in Vermilion, which was absolute hell. I mean, we started our marriage there. We almost ended our marriage there. Mike worked for a horrible human being. It was very, very hard.
Very stressful.
I will say that we were there for 2 seasons, and when we did leave, I did cry. We made some amazing friends, and we started our marriage there. And so then we went back to Iowa to Wartburg College, and he was there for 4 years, and he actually coached offense early in his career.
Okay.
And so I went to grad school there. Logan was born there. Like, we had this just lovely little life, and he had an opportunity to go to Ohio State, and truth be told, he didn't want to take it. You know, he's like, I have a full-time job. We have a child now. And I pushed him, and I said, you know, we have families that can support us if we need it. You're going to regret this. Yeah, like if we needed financial support, you know, his parents were in Minnesota, mine was in Iowa.
Yes.
He needed to take that risk for his career.
Sure.
But Mike is not like that. Mike is a very even-keeled, play it straight, not a big risk taker. And I'm like, let's do it, you know? And I had no idea what was going to happen.
Right.
And neither did he.
Right.
But it turned out to be the best thing possible for his career.
So you pack up, you move to Cincinnati.
We moved to Columbus. That's where Ohio State is. Yep.
Okay. Got it.
We moved to Columbus after being in Iowa for 4 years.
And that was the first D1 experience.
That was his first D1 experience. He was a graduate assistant. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gosh, I feel like we can talk forever and ever and ever about the whole journey. I want to step back just a little bit because I don't know if you noticed I wore a Wisconsin
Oh, you did. That's so
jacket.
cute.
It's my birthstone. This is my birthstone. Leopard.
Leopard.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah. So it's cool. I saw your watch. That's good. I'm glad we have, we're in the same wavelength there. But I was perusing on Instagram a little bit on my Instagram site for Heller Pods and Sip and Spill. And there was a comment that said, "We love our Megan Tressel." And I just feel like I completely related to that comment. I don't even know who this person is. And I was like, I feel like you have made an impact with people and friends everywhere you've gone. Kids and friends. I mean, look at you. You just, like, when we were talking, you're like, oh, 2 things that I love, wine and books. And you're like, book club is mine. So here we are. You come to my book club. We've established a friendship. I've gotten to go to some games with you. It's just really fun. So I just wanted to make sure I wore the red to support.
I love that.
I mean, we are in a great place to wear red anyway.
We are.
Wisconsin, red
Red
and
wire,
white.
red wine.
Red wine, everything. But so I just wanted to jump back to that and just say, like, the impact that you've probably had, which you can go into if you want, because you said you cried when you left South Dakota.
I did.
And then you're in Iowa.
Cried when we left
Closer to
Iowa.
family. Now you're heading to Ohio State, and I'm sure you made friends there. Like, it would be hard not to gravitate towards you, I guess is what I'm getting to. And so then my question becomes, how do you do it? How do you pick up and leave and then manage new friendships, keeping old, supporting your husband, supporting your kids? There's a lot in that.
There is. And I will say, the coaching world is funny because a normal person takes a new job and usually has time to do things at home, plan ahead for what's coming. In the coaching world, you get a phone call and you're gone.
Yeah.
Like the next day, gone. And so when we moved from Ohio State to Cincinnati, we were at our bowl game and I was 7 months pregnant. And Mike, as soon as we got home, Mike moved to Cincinnati. Yeah. Thankfully, that was only about an hour away. So that move was more manageable. But when he took the job at Michigan State from Cincinnati, literally, Mike is on his way home from work on a Monday night. This is in December. And he had told me the week before, hey, Coach D is interviewing at Michigan State. Okay, whatever. I'm at the mall right now with the kids. This was over Thanksgiving, and we were, Christmas shopping. And we got back that Sunday, and on Monday, Coach D got the job, like that afternoon.
Sure.
And so Mike called me on his way home from work that night, and he said, "Do you need anything?" And I said, "Yeah, you know what? Can you grab me some Christmas lights? Can you stop at Target? I'm short one set." Absolutely. 10 minutes later, the phone rings. He goes, "I just got a text from Coach D, and he said we have to be at the airport in 3 hours if we're going with him to Michigan State." I was like,
3 hours.
Are you gonna get my Christmas lights? Like,
who's getting the
what
Christmas
do you
lights?
say? And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And at the time, my kids were 2 and 5. Like, literally, that was a Monday night, and I'm working full time as a school counselor.
Right.
And so, like, okay, so he walks in the door, and of course, me, I'm like, okay, where are you living? I don't know. What are you packing? I don't know.
Yeah.
What about your car? I don't know. When will we see you again? I don't know. Like, literally, that's how it is. And so, yeah, that was probably the hardest time in our marriage when he left Cincinnati and I had 2 kids. that were little, and I was working full time, and he's just gone. And this is what, 2007? There aren't smartphones.
Correct.
I can't track Mike and see where he is.
Correct.
I have no idea.
Right.
I literally had to look at Logan had a globe in his room, and I was like, let's find Michigan.
Right.
Where are we moving?
Yeah, because you
No
had
idea. No
Now,
idea.
Quick question. Did you make it on that flight that you were leaving in 3 hours?
Mike did.
Just
I didn't.
Mike, you and the kids did
Nope,
not, but
nope.
you were
Mike, because
invited.
I have to hold down the phone. I got to go to work the next day.
Sure, yes.
You know, and so my vice principal, I worked in a middle school as the school counselor, and his name was Bernie, and he was the head football coach at Wyoming High School, the district that we were in. And immediately he's in my office that morning. He goes, "What is going on?" I was like, "I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what's going on."
Yeah.
You know, I said, "Apparently we're moving. I don't know." And it's just like, it's weird. Like, I don't even have a chance to digest my own life news. And it's
Right.
in the media, and people have an opinion, and I don't even have an opinion yet.
Right.
I don't even know where Michigan is on the map.
Exactly.
I literally had to look it up. I mean, that makes me sound like I'm so stupid.
No,
but
Hey, hold on. Random audience member wants to interject. You were in Ohio.
I know, but I'm from Iowa. Like,
Okay,
I've never
all
been
right.
that far north
All
before.
right. So let me ask you about the 20-20-20 club. So I don't know if you're familiar, but a lot of coaches talk about this. In your 20s, working 20 hours a day for $20,000 a year.
Oh my
so,
gosh.
Right? So you were absolutely in the 20-20-20 club, even
definitely.
taking the job at Ohio State because it's a GA.
Yeah.
So it's not a
High-paying
well-compensated position. A lot of us look back at those times in our lives very fondly. Do you?
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will tell you that those were the things that give you grit and make you who you are. I mean, seriously, I know that sounds kind of dumb, but you know, that year that we left Cincinnati was a hard one for me personally because I'm working full time. I don't have a husband that is like a coach's marriage is not a shared partnership. It's not a 50-50 marriage.
Yep.
It just isn't.
Right.
But I was working full time and raising my kids, and then I didn't have a husband. So, you know, it was hard for me, and I was very pissed at my husband. Quite honestly, I mean, I was. It was hard. And then that stretch when he left for Michigan, and I was alone with the kids, I ended up with pneumonia.
Oh gosh.
I ended up in the hospital.
And away
It
from
was
family.
a challenging time.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank
and-
God Mike's parents were in Columbus.
Okay.
They were an hour away, but my
Okay.
parents were in Iowa.
Yeah.
They were like 7 hours away. It wasn't like I could just,
Right.
you know, and that's the thing in coaching. You don't really pick where you live. So usually you're not near family.
Right.
So you have to, I think that's part of the reason, back to what you said about making friends and making sure that you have a community. It is so important as a coach's wife to have community.
Yeah.
It just
definitely.
is.
And passions and
You just need people to help you because your husband's not around, and you need just a sprinkling of friends that understand that your life is not typical.
Yeah. Yep. I remember a little side note here, another coach's wife who was here and she didn't have any friends. And I'm like, honey, I got some friends for you. Remember?
I do.
Connected you all?
I do.
Yes, I'm kind of a connector. But let's go back to your college. Any like, what's a highlight? What was a highlight for you with tennis, doubles, singles? What comes to mind when you think like, oh yeah, I played college
Tennis is my first love.
Okay.
I mean, that is my first true love. I started
Yes.
playing tennis when I was 3 years old.
Okay.
Played with a racquetball racket. And no, tennis has been a huge part of my life. And tennis is social too. But what's so crazy is that we went to Cornell College, which is in Mount Vernon, Iowa, small D3 college. We played our conference championship every year at Nielsen Tennis Center here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Crazy.
So as a college student, I remember Nielsen being huge, this huge, overwhelming place. And now I go and watch the Wisconsin tennis team, and I'm like, okay, first of all, this place is not that big, but
you remember
I have
it
so
being
many
big.
memories of, for 4 years. We would come up here, and in D3, we're driving the vans, man. We're not flying. We're not taking a Greyhound bus. Fred Burke, our head coach, and one of us girls is driving the vans. And
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
What a fun little nugget of
It
a memory.
is. It's
for
just
like
full
a full circle.
Yeah.
One of the things Mike and I talk about, talk about a lot is if you could have a superpower, like not, the normal ones that you know about. We talk a lot about a life DVR. Like if you could go back and replay those days that you were in the tennis center and watch.
Yeah.
Because, and also like going back to like when you were walking into those tournaments thinking, I'm going to live here someday, to your 20-year-old self. Like no, not
30
anybody
years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Wild.
But wouldn't it be fun to go back and watch?
Yes.
Like a little life DVR? Not everything that we want to go back and watch, but it'd be kind of a fun, it's kind of a fun little thing.
It is.
So sometimes I sit here and I like type, like we have this conversation and I like pretend to type, life DVR. Anyway.
I love that.
So yes. All right. I want to get into how you met your Mike. Your Mike, my Mike. I'm just going to go with Mike from now on.
Okay.
Your Mike, I shouldn't have said that. Mike, he said, the very first time I ever noticed Megan was in the cafeteria. She was being delivered birthday balloons, probably from a boyfriend. And I thought, oh, cool, she has my birthday too. And then we started dating our sophomore year, and we've been together every minute since.
It's true.
You share the same birthday.
We share
a year apart.
We do. We share the same birthday. And the funny thing is, yes, I did get a delivery of balloons. And at a small college, we all eat in the same cafeteria. Marriott was the food provider.
Yeah.
And so at our college, lunch was from 11 to 1. We didn't have 24-hour food service. So everybody's in there. So, and of course, your mailboxes are right there. And being a girl, of course, I want everyone to see that I was delivered balloons. Look at me. And that is a true story. I did not know who Mike was. Wait, this was our sophomore year. I did know who Mike was. Amazingly, in a small college, Mike was just a very go to class. Mike was a football player, a wrestler, very disciplined. I was super social. So Mike just kind of floated in and blended in. I did not. So I did spot him. We had just come back from the summer, so I played tennis, and that was a fall sport. So the athletes came back a week early before the other students, and I spotted him walking into that commons building where we eat before school started. And I remember thinking, that guy is hot. Who is that little guy?
Look out. Megan's on her way.
I swear to God, I went home and I told my friends, I said, I think I found my guy. And Matt Mitchell, who is currently one of our defensive assistants on staff, which is pretty cool. We went to college together. He was in our wedding.
Love that story.
He finally introduced me to Mike because I was friends with Matt first. Okay. And so Mitch is like our connector and our common denominator. And so, me with my very flirty personality, trying to flirt with Mike, and oh my God, he's not getting it. And so then we started watching Days of Our Lives over lunch most days in the dorm with a big group of us, and I would, try to engage him, and he was a tough sell. Yeah. So I finally just bit the bullet, and I asked him out on a date on St. Patty's Day.
Asked.
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
Which honestly never thought I'd be that girl.
Sure.
But and we went out on a date, and I remember we went to Carlos O'Kelly's, and they had the best queso in town.
On St. Patty's Day?
That weekend.
Okay.
So St. Patty's Day was during the week, and I remember my master plan was if he said no, I was just going to pretend like I was drunk, and I didn't remember. That didn't happen.
But
You're
he said
crazy.
Yes. But he said
yes. He said yes, and so
Mm-hmm.
we went out on a date, and we went out that afternoon, and we had lunch, and we had such a great time. And I had to go to an event that night for my sorority,
Mm-hmm.
and we met back up after that, and we ended up staying up till 4 a.m. just talking. And that's your person.
Start.
Yeah, that's your
start.
person.
And I mean, he may have been low key, like just floated in and out, but one-on-one, then he was, you guys had some great conversations.
We did.
To spark the relationship.
He was my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ask him to marry you?
No.
Okay, he asked you. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
I
Just
was
wanted to make
irritated
sure.
with him though because we had bought the ring together and he just wasn't proposing.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I finally did say to him one day, "Are you going to ask me to marry you or not?" And he did. I mean,
Okay.
it's the most unromantic thing. And he had a plan and I messed it up. And yeah. So
Patience,
I
patience.
know. I was like, let's go.
Well,
Let's
that
go.
was July 1996.
That was.
And
yeah.
so we're coming up on 30
on 30
years.
years. Yeah.
Incredible.
It
and
is.
Tell me again how many years you dated
We
before.
dated for about 2.5 years.
2.5
yeah,
years,
we got
okay.
married literally 6 weeks out of college, right after graduation,
Okay,
and then moved to South Dakota.
right. So how
Yep.
many times have you moved up to now, or don't you know that offhand?
Counting live on
I'm-
the radio or
Seriously.
podcast,
On the
rather.
radio.
So South Dakota, Wartburg, Ohio State, Cincinnati, Michigan State, Cincinnati again, Wisconsin.
7.
Did I miss anything?
No.
Since you've been married, you like right?
Yeah.
That's where.
That's
yeah.
where.
Okay.
Yeah.
7.
7 years, because literally when we moved to South Dakota, we didn't have a couch. We had a futon from college, and we had crystal sitting on our kitchen table. You know, because when
From a
you got
wedding.
married way back in the day,
You got
You
crystal.
registered for
Yeah, in
crystal in China. I mean, yeah, it was
So
a very
good.
weird life.
Yeah.
Very weird.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But you've evolved and
We've
you know,
come
like
a long way.
Exactly.
A long way.
Well, how about Mike and parenting? I know you alluded to it already about it's not really a 50-50. You really can't count on him being a part of the parenting, the home life. But when he's home, great. But is it still, when he's home, is it still kind of like he's
No.
not there, or does he leave everything?
And I think that that's probably his proudest accomplishment. And honestly, mine too. That we have 2 kids that absolutely adore their dad, that want to spend time with him, that want his opinion. I mean, half the time during the day, if I send him a text, he doesn't respond. But if the kids text,
he's on
he's
it.
on it. You know, it's a joke in our family. Like,
Yeah.
I need to be dying
Yeah.
for Mike to respond.
Do you have a group
know?
text, all
we
4
do.
of you?
Like our
Okay.
family group chat.
Yeah.
The kids get a response,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but I love that. You know,
Of course, yeah.
I'm very independent. I'm fine. I literally don't call Mike.
Unless
you know,
it's, and
unless
then you
it's
would
truly,
know, he
yeah.
would know that it's an
He
urgent
knows,
matter.
but
yeah.
yeah, he has a great relationship with our kids.
Yeah,
I will
that's
say, you know, that in the landscape that we live in now with college athletics, coaches are available 24/7, and that has changed things. That's changed our family life
Yeah.
for sure.
Right. Because
But-
maybe he could be home, but would he have to like, oh, I got like all of a sudden I have a call that I have to be on.
Yeah.
Or I have to go meet, I don't know if a recruit is, if that's
Yeah.
something that he does.
Or he has to go to a last minute dinner with a recruit that you know,
happened
this
to
is
come
when,
into town.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And how often are you along on those?
Quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you host a lot of stuff at your house?
No, we
No,
don't.
you do, like,
we
by
host
choice?
we host Mike's players. Like
Okay.
we'll have Mike's players over, you know, the
Okay.
linebackers a couple of times a year. But no, we don't do any kind of recruiting stuff at our house. Yeah.
Now, I talked a little bit about your personal like female friendships, maybe male too, doesn't matter, like in your coaching journey. But how about the kids? Like you must feel like you have a lot of sons in your life. You do have Logan, obviously, and Quincy as your children, probably your friend to friend, your proudest title, right? But how about like all those boys? Like, you feel like you have a lot of boys?
Sometimes.
Or is it
that's
not that
changed.
way?
It's changed a little bit now that we're empty nesters.
Sure.
I definitely felt more that way, you know, when I still had kids at home because my kids loved Mike's players.
Right.
You know, they looked up
Right.
to him and they got so excited when we had them over for dinner and
Yeah.
their little neighborhood friends are, you know, want to come over and meet the guys and but now that we're empty nesters it's a little bit different.
A little bit different.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm speaking a little bit, you can talk to it. Some of these boys are only here for a year.
Yes.
So you maybe don't get to build a relationship like you have in
Very
the
true.
past. Yeah.
Very
Because
true.
you lived a lot of your husband's coaching years as the boys would, like, they commit and they're there until graduation.
Yep.
So you're probably going to graduation parties, right? Or whatever. You're seeing them off to adulthood. But now
Yes.
you barely maybe get to know some of them.
It's very different.
Yeah, very different.
sure.
Yeah.
This episode of Sip and Spill is brought to you by Summit Credit Union. Make any vision for your business happen with loan programs, great rates, and strategic solutions from Summit Credit Union, the #1 SBA lender in Wisconsin. Also brought to you by Habish. This episode brought to you by Habish, and Rotier, the hometown personal injury firm you can trust to help your family when it matters most. Visit Habish.com for more information. Also brought to you by Red and White Wine Bar. Sip and Spill is presented here on site by Red and White. Hang out, kick back, drink up. Newly remodeled with great wines, bourbons, and now beer on tap. Special occasion coming up. We'd love to help. Take the stress away and handle the party for you. Email us at redandwhite331@gmail.com. By Evie & Co. Boutique in Wanakee. And brought to you by the spa at Autumn Organics. Health, wellness, renewal, premium organic and vegan products, and spa treatments for hair, body, and nails. The spa at Autumn Organics in Sun Prairie.
So after a game, throughout all of these years, and you lay down to go to bed, what kind of football pillow talk do you guys have? Does he listen to you? Do you have input? Are you
Of course I have input.
Okay, let's hear
I have a lot
it.
of opinions.
Spill, girl. Yes.
You know, I love to see the final stats after the game.
Okay.
And so, you know, Mike looks over those. Sometimes I'll watch a little bit of film with them. I always have commentary.
Amazing.
Not that it's ever appreciated or asked for.
Sure.
But
Like
I
maybe-
provide it.
I bet there's appreciation, don't you think? He doesn't say you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
No, he did early on in our marriage, and I
Okay.
didn't know what I was talking
Okay.
about. I mean,
Yeah.
early on, honest to God, we would lay in bed on his laptop, and he'd be like, literally teaching me X's and O's. Okay, these are the positions. This is who I coach. I mean, seriously, I did not grow up. I grew up in Iowa, but we did not grow up as Hawkeyes.
Sure.
My parents just weren't really into football.
Yeah.
So I had to learn a lot. But I was interested.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
right.
I want to
You were
support his
invested.
career. Yeah, I love sports. So
Right.
it was fun.
Yeah.
But now we come home and Mike is on the couch. I'm on the couch. And we look at each other and we say, "Is it bedtime yet?" And it's 5:30.
Well, when it's a 7:00
Yeah.
kickoff, that's a little hard.
We're exhausted.
Yeah, of course you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that, like, leading up to, it's just kind of like a decompress,
Yeah.
correct? But so,
He has no idea how hard game day is for me. I love to tell him that. I mean, I'm exhausted.
yeah, of course you are. Yes. Okay, so my next question on that is, and you answered it a little bit, how much do you know about football, like technically?
Oh, God.
Are you just, like, when you're watching the game, are you watching the ball? Are you watching formations? Are you, like,
That's
obviously
a great
you're watching
question.
the D.
I tell Mike that they should blitz every play. That's how I would coach. And we don't. So he doesn't really listen to me. But it's so funny that you say that because I try to dial in, but I try to watch Mike's players. I can't watch it all.
Yeah.
You
exactly.
know, I like to watch from above. I feel like I get a better view. Like if you're too close to the field, I can't see.
Right.
So
Yeah, unless you're looking up at the
yeah.
screen.
So I know very little technical stuff.
Okay. But you know positions,
I know
especially
positions,
defense.
yeah.
But do you know it all, or do you specifically know defense?
I know defense.
Okay.
I know defense. I mean,
Yeah.
I say that.
Right.
If you
Another,
quizzed me right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Another question from the audience, just a random dude in the audience asking questions. How long did it take, or maybe it's still that way, to separate work and home? Like when your kids were younger, did they know, would they have known if you won or lost based on your or Mike's emotion walking back into the house on a Saturday night?
Yes, because we were at every game.
Yeah.
So they were a part of it. But also no, because Mike is the master of not bringing stuff home. He's literally the master. And that's one of the things I love about him most. He's just so even keeled, and I am an emotional roller coaster all day long. So is our daughter.
Sure.
And that's the only thing that differs between my daughter and Mike. Quincy is Mike, except she's very emotional, but Mike is just so even. He never gets too high when things are great, and he never gets too low when things aren't great.
Because we've been lucky enough, because you are friends, to see that transition post game, even from on top of lot 17.
Yeah.
But then there's a transition between there and when you get home.
There is.
And is that okay, this is where the game gets left and now home life begins and there's a transition. How does that part of it work, that transition from the rest of us don't live scoreboard lives.
No.
Like we didn't win and lose on a Saturday.
Yeah.
We work all year, but you have 12 specific scoreboard wins or losses that you have to survive and deal with emotionally.
It's a really interesting dichotomy as a parent because you raise your kids to believe that winning isn't everything, but winning is literally everything in Mike's job. So it's so weird. I don't even know how to describe that. I will say that I always told my kids we are never going to cry because we lost a football game. We have to keep it in perspective. We coach football for a living. And yes, we need to win, but we are not solving the world's problems. We are not ending world hunger. We coach football, and we are never going to cry because we lost. And I'm still firm. You know, and we've had plenty of coaches whose kids are sobbing in the stands, and I'm comforting those kids and at the same time staring at my kids like, we do not do this, you know.
Do you get to cry at home? Or are you
I
saying
don't
in
know
public,
that
or you just...
No, I honestly
because
don't think
it's-
I've ever cried because you have to just understand that this is what we do.
Right.
And we are going to lose.
Yeah.
That's the nature of life. We
Exactly.
are not going to win every single game that we play.
Absolutely.
And so we have to understand that there are going to be some really, really great seasons, and there are going to be some mid seasons, and there's going to be some tough seasons.
Yeah.
And it's just the reality.
When you mentioned, you know, you're coddling the coaches' kids, you know, who are crying. I mean, do you think that has to do with winning or losing, or do you think it has a little bit to do with the fans?
I think it's a combination of everything. You know, it's a combination of the kids and what the message is in their household. And
Yeah.
some of our coaches' kids are really sensitive, and it's
Sure.
tough. And, you know, we live in a world where people say things about their dad on social media
Yes.
every single day. So thank God my kids, I mean, you know, they had cell phones when
Right.
they were in, you know, junior high and stuff. But we lived in a community in Michigan that was very protective of us.
Okay.
And we could not have picked a better place to live for our kids. You know, we had a lot of support within our community. We had a lot of support within our school system. People knew who my kids were.
Right.
And they understood that when we lost, it was hard. And
Right.
some of our other coaches' kids that lived in other communities had very different experiences that weren't as positive as my kids. So, yeah.
That's hard. And it like you're talking about, like, you can't possibly win every game. There are going to be different seasons, but our fans think that we should win every single game.
They do.
And part of the reason why I wanted to do Sip and Spill is to just give a little bit of a light to families, people emotionally connecting with others, knowing that we have, not we, the spouses, the families, the coaches, the kids even have emotions.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I say it to Mike a lot too. Like, do you think that every coach, every player, every assistant, whatever it wants to win? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Just as much as
More
the fan.
than the fans.
More than the fans.
Nobody's more invested than the coaches and their families.
Exactly.
That's just true.
No, exactly. And so it's not that sometimes it feels like the team or the kids aren't putting in enough effort, or the coaches didn't, you know, do this right or whatever. And sometimes I make a joke and say, I don't think anybody's like saying, you know, fire the weatherman for getting the weather wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it's just such a small community under a microscope. And so how, I mean, it's hard. So where do you lean? And if I have this correct, I'm pretty sure I met Mike's parents at a game. Like, he probably has a lot of input with Mike too. Like,
does.
And you as well, and maybe even the kids too, to like, how do you lean in when those hard times are happening? When the losing, when the season isn't going great? Who is it, or who is that person?
Yeah.
Or is it a family unit and you're taking care of each other?
Yeah. I think it's all of what you just said. I am not a huge social media person. I don't love it. And I stay away from social media because I've learned that I get very upset when bad things are said. And I understand. Fans are fans. They're passionate. They love their team. But in today's culture, whatever line that used to be drawn in the sand no longer exists. And people say whatever they want to say.
Well, they can be anybody.
They can. They can. And so for me, that's very hard. And I've just realized that for my own mental health and sanity, I stay away from that. Mike is a coach's kid. His dad, you know, coached at Hamline University and was the athletic director there, and then coached at Ohio State for 10 years. We are so lucky that we have family that just gets it.
Gets it.
And so we can talk about things that are hard. And Mike's dad especially is just really good at keeping me grounded.
Good.
Really good.
Yeah.
And he just knows what to say to me.
Yeah.
He knows I'm a spaz and that I get worked up. And Mike is just like him. They're just calm. And so, yeah, I mean, it's hard. And another piece of the puzzle that people don't understand is gambling, sports gambling. And people are gambling and making large bets on these kids. And when it doesn't go their way and they've lost money, who are they going to blame?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that's just a whole nother piece of college football that has changed so much. You know, we didn't have that before.
Do you know that I wasn't even aware of that? I had no idea. And I mean, we all know who Mike is. My husband, I had no idea. That doesn't come up in our conversations. That's the first. I mean, I've heard of that for the NFL or, you know, fantasy football, that kind of stuff, but I didn't know it was happening at the college level.
Oh, yeah.
And that just, you know, that just spawns into whole other problems.
It does.
In society.
It does.
Domestic abuse is one, you know, like they're losing money. Who do they take it out on? They take it out emotionally on the kids probably, but then physically on their spouse. Or children or whatever. So that's upsetting.
It is. It's just another piece of what college football has become.
Right.
You know?
And we don't have to go into the NIL stuff because I know it's super technical and it's, you know, very direct with the coach and the kids. But it, you know, with anything, you kind of conform to what your spouse does. So you know, like, what's happening. So I feel like there's a negative surrounding it. Would you agree with that? There's
about NIL?
NIL.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of opinions about that. You have a lot of opinions about that. Joe on the street has a lot of opinions about that. The average football fan does not truly understand what NIL is and how it exists currently in our world. You know, it used to be that a kid would sign a letter of intent to play at a school, and we're in a relationship, and I'm going to play for you for 4 years, and I'm going to get my degree and maybe go on to the NFL. That just does not exist anymore. You know, you recruit kids, you get them here, but every single year you're signing a new contract with these kids. And it's financial, you know, that NIL financial piece. And it's no longer a given that a kid is going to walk out of here with a degree anywhere, whether they stay on our team or they end up going somewhere else. And I think that, for me personally, is the biggest piece that is so tough, because you've got kids that go into the transfer portal 3 and 4 times. Eventually, you're not going to get picked up. And guess what? Are you going to pay money to go back somewhere and get your degree? A lot of these kids aren't.
Right.
And it's horrible, you know? And it also, we can go on and on about this as parents. Like, what is this teaching our kids when things are hard? What do? We quit and we leave. We go somewhere else. Or I'm a freshman and I haven't seen the field yet, and now we're renegotiating my contract for my sophomore year. Well, my agent believes that I'm worth this. Well, you haven't done anything to show that you've earned that or you're worth that. It's like me walking into a job and saying, I have not done anything for you yet, but this is what I believe my value is. And, you know, it's so different.
And then it only takes one school to say, yeah, we'll pay that.
100%.
One agent to go to that school to say, we'll pay that. And you've been here, you're through 3 years.
Yep.
And it just so happens to coincide with the landscape of college football changing from night to day in the same 3-year period. How difficult has this been? This not just not winning enough, but also the entire flip of college athletics has happened since you all arrived here.
It has. It has. And there's just no rules. So unfortunately, the universities that have money are still the ones that are the gets, you know, the haves and the have-nots. If you don't have the money or your school is not willing to spend the money, you know, I thought the whole thing was, I personally think that the kids should get paid something. They can't have jobs, they can't do things. I'm not against that. But I think it should be a uniform number that every college player gets no matter where they go. And then if you prove yourself or, you know, you earn it by getting into a relationship with, I don't know, the Red and White Wine Bar, State Farm, you know, whatever, that you're going to like be a spokesperson for them and then you go and make more money on your own, that's great. But what we're living in now is crazy, and the kind of money that you're handing to an 18-year-old kid is literally insane.
And correct me if I'm wrong, when do they get the paycheck?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's different at every school.
Yeah.
I don't know those things.
Because what you were just saying, like, it's like me walking into a job and saying, you know, I haven't really done anything yet, but this is what I think I can do.
And I want my money
But I
up
want
front.
my money, but not by merit or by how you've done. I mean, yep, there's injuries. Does that have a factor in it? And the other thing is that it used to be, also, correct me if I'm wrong, that if you transferred, you had to sit a year.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. So now
Yes, it did.
You just get to move all over the place. And and we were talking earlier before when we were just catching up, it's like high schools are doing,
I know.
It's happening.
High school kids have agents. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane.
Let me ask one more question about this year. You've lived this coach's life, family life, for going on 31 years. This year, there was a lot of volatility, early especially, not winning early, not knowing whether the staff would be retained. And for some people that aren't fully aware, the head coach ties to the entire coaching staff.
He does.
So that if the head coach is not retained, essentially nobody's retained. Everybody goes at the same time. There was a question mark about how this last season, 2025, was playing out. And then there was essentially the word from Chris McIntosh that the staff was going to stay, that Luke Fickell and staff was going to stay. Can you take us through the emotion of that? Or is there less emotion than we see from the outside because you've lived this life? Like, what was last year like as a family, as a spouse in the coach's world?
Hands down, this was the hardest season we've ever had. Hands down. And it's not just the losing. Again, it's the social media. It's everyone has an opinion about what's going on, and you can't escape it. I mean, every bad thing that can happen in our program has happened to us with our quarterbacks for 3. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You just can't.
I know.
Our schedule this year, I know that us and Florida were the only 2 teams in the country that played the top, 4 teams in the AP.
The schedule in itself.
We played 3 teams that are in the CFP.
Yeah. By most measures, it was the most difficult schedule in all of college football.
It was crazy. And so, yes, it was very tough. When your fan base boos you, it's so hurtful. I mean, I can't even express to you how hard that is. And you're sitting in the stadium with your kids, and your husband is pouring his entire life. We are pouring our entire life into football and the school, and it's tough. People either forget that you're a human being or they don't care. I don't know which one's worse, to be honest with you.
Because I will tell you as a fan, and yes, I have an emotional investment into some of the coaches' spouses the last couple of years, but as a fan, it kills me too.
It does.
Because I'm thinking about the kids also. Yes, the coaching staff, and their families, they're pouring everything into it. But the kids, are we really going to boo our own team? I don't remember when that first happened or when I first experienced it, but I was like, what is going on? Why would you boo your own team? Don't they leave the stadium at halftime or the field and then come back out and you stand up and cheer for your team? Doesn't that get them excited. Like if I got booed, I'd be like, okay, forget it.
The thing that's crazy is that they're booing their classmates. Like that blows
Right.
my mind.
The
These
student
are your
section.
friends they're your peers. I
then there's
literally don't
adults.
understand that.
Then
There
there's
are totally adults. And then there's that gambling piece. You know,
Yes.
people are betting on sports and it's so convoluted and complicated, but yeah, this hands down hardest season of our career. Yeah.
And making changes already. You're already working for next year. Like
Oh,
things are happening.
The guys are back in the office yesterday. The stupid transfer portal from hell opens up on
Friday.
either Thursday or Friday.
Friday, and it's 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
It stays
so
open.
I think that people just have no idea how much football coaches work. They literally have no idea.
Right.
There is no day off. Mike is texting recruits on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to dinner and I can't even express to you how much these guys work. And again, they have their cell phones, so they're accessible 24/7. But again, you have to go back to being grounded and understanding that there are a lot of things that are out of your control. And that has been like my motto all year. I cannot control this. I cannot control our injuries. I cannot control what's happening to us. I don't know why this is happening to us, but that has really helped me
And
this year.
and you chose the life, right? I mean,
Sort of.
sort of, because the life
didn't
has
choose
changed.
this
You haven't
life that we're in
correct.
now.
But
But
choosing
nobody
a
did.
coach's life.
We
is
chose
gonna-
to be a coach.
Yeah,
But
right.
we did not choose to exist in this current climate. No coach in America did.
Yeah.
But we're forced to deal with the hands that are dealt, and you have to figure it out.
Well, a little side note too, like weren't we 4 quarterbacks deep as well?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's another thing you just can't
I
make
mean,
up, right?
you can't.
We have this prospect
The
and
injuries,
gets
yeah.
hurt the first game, and
It's tough.
Yeah,
It's
it's
tough
tough.
when your
It's-
quarterback goes down. Yeah.
And then the
and then
second,
your
and the
second
third.
quarterback goes down.
yeah, things that people don't think of before they
No.
push send or post or whatever.
They don't. They don't.
Well, I don't want to not talk about this either, which I'm positive has had a positive impact on all of this, is your career. Like you were trained in counseling,
Yeah.
and trained in like helping other people go through hard stuff. So I don't want to dismiss the fact that you've had a career and that you have passions, and how has that helped or hurt, or you retired when you moved.
I retired.
I know, retired.
Yeah.
When you moved here?
No, when
Michigan.
we moved to Michigan.
Okay.
So the kids were little, and that was when things were really hard in our marriage because I was working full time and just
Yeah, no,
exhausted.
yep,
And we had
yep.
little kids, and so we both knew that something had to change. And when we moved to Michigan, Mike said, I think you should stay home with the kids. And I looked at him, and I know I said some 4-letter words, and I was like, what? That is not what I
Getting a nanny,
wanted.
too?
And that's just not what I ever thought our
Sure.
life was going to look like.
Sure.
And I said, okay, I'll do it for a year. I will tell you that when we moved to Michigan State, and this is true, the current athletic director at the time was Mark Hollis. He called me personally and asked me if I wanted him to start looking for jobs for me. I've never had that happen before. And I was like, well, apparently not. I'm not allowed to work anymore. So we made this decision that I would stay home, and I said, I'll give it a year. It's the first time, and I know how lucky I am that I didn't have to work.
Sure.
And so I said, I'll give it the old college try. Well, turns out I loved it. So, and honest to God, my kids could not have the life that they had if I didn't stay home with them. Because again, we're moving to a state we're 12 hours away from his parents, 6 hours away from mine, no family. And so I was able to do all the things that a lot of mothers would love to do, but can't. I worked in the classroom every week. I was super involved in the schools. I did so much volunteer work outside of the schools. I got to find things that nourished me.
Yeah.
I got to play tennis and now pickleball. All the things that I couldn't have done either if I worked full time. And so, Mike has worked his tail off to give us the life that we have.
Yeah. And I think probably you got healthy or healthier, like you weren't in pneumonia in the hospital. You were able, and
Yeah.
if your kids got sick, you were able to be
I was
home.
able to
Like
be there. All those things that are stressful to a two-income household. We never had to worry about that kind of stuff because I was available.
Right. Okay, now I also want to bring full circle your tennis experience to your current state of pickleball. we Red and White, we tried our darndest to have a pickleball league, and Megan was great. And I will tell you, Megan, you are a gracious competitor because if I couldn't, return your serve, you would lay off a little. So that's very kind. But tell me how competitive you are on the pickleball court.
I'm very competitive. Very.
Yes.
And I'm married to a very competitive human being.
Okay.
And so
Does he play
he does.
tennis or pickleball or
He
both?
plays both.
Okay.
He just never has time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we're uber competitive.
Okay. Quincy and Logan as well?
Sadly not to the degree that we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you let them win at board games when they were
No.
young? They had to earn that win.
They had to earn it. Oh, you're getting into a whole interesting dynamic in our family. I'm just sitting here thinking about things where I've had to be like, oh my God, Mike, calm down. Like so excited that he beat the kids. And,
yeah. Right. And
Yeah.
they're devastated probably,
Yeah.
right? But you're
But
trying
Mike
to.
is like, I'm not going to give it to you, know, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you don't have to like kill him, but yeah, we are definitely a competitive family. Quincy is very competitive. Logan is competitive, but not
Not to
like
the
us,
degree.
not to the degree.
So at some point were they just like, let mom and dad win, it's fine.
No,
They
were
still
never
would-
like that. Of course,
okay.
they always want to win.
They still
Yeah.
competed and yeah.
Yeah.
What were they like as athletes? What teams
they
were they
both,
on?
Logan played football. He played basketball. He ran track briefly. Thank God he didn't continue on in track because track meets are 900 hours long. Oh my God.
And sometimes freezing rain and
Yep.
sometimes sunshine.
Yeah.
How different were you as a parent at your kids' events as opposed to a spouse at your husband's games?
Yeah. I'm a great fan. I really believe that I, for the most part, I'm a great fan. Mike is not a great fan. So he doesn't really know what it's like to live in the stands. So, I vivid memory of when Logan was playing basketball, probably 7th grade, and it's getting down to the wire, and, all of a sudden at the end of the game, Mike stands up and yells, "Time out!" And the referee blows the whistle and goes, "Time out!" And I looked at Mike and I slapped him so hard across the chest.
No.
Like, he can't not
He's not coaching.
It's not even your sport, and I'm like, oh my God, looking down, and these are all our friends,
Yes.
that we play basketball with.
Yeah.
And Bill Flannery, our head coach, he looks at Mike in the stands and he laughs, and I was like, oh my God, kill me now. Kill me now.
That is so hilarious.
So funny.
It doesn't ever leave him.
Yeah.
The competitive, the coaching, it's who he is.
Yeah.
Not just what he does,
That is such
Yeah.
a great story.
Yeah.
Because when we were talking earlier, I was like, well, okay, so when your kids are playing sports and, it's football and the high school football coach comes Mike Tressel and he's like, oh man, I better have the right plays or whatever. But
No.
well, that's a good
No.
story though.
But I will say
Time out.
with Quincy in tennis, high school tennis,
Yeah.
in Michigan, there's a list of stuff that you have to sign as a tennis parent. Like, you can't say anything that would be deemed as coaching.
Oh.
And so Mike would really toe the line and try to say things to Quincy like, move
Like
your
coaching
feet.
her from the side.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'd be like, Mike, you're going to, the MHSAA, the governing high school athletic body is going to ban you from tennis.
Yes.
And, just chill.
Oh, I just love that timeout story.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask this at some point. I'm not sure if it fits in here or not, but I have this weird obsession with coaches and coaches wearing the uniform of the players, like baseball. Oh, so a coach, wears
Like the Major League Baseball guys wearing the uniform. I
Yes.
agree. It's a little weird.
Can you even imagine
No.
basketball, football?
No.
Like here comes the coaches
Yeah.
out in football
I agree.
uniform.
It's weird.
However, I would love to see us go back to a day where all of the coaches wear a suit and tie. What do you think?
Interesting. A few of our coaches still, you mean while they're coaching during the game?
I know that they do
Used
when
to
they
happen.
get up.
Used to happen in the
long
NFL
ago.
specifically. You watch the old films of sidelines and the head coaches in a nice looking hat
Yeah.
and a jacket and tie.
Yeah.
And now
Maybe even had a cigarette going.
In recent years, certain coaches in the NFL got fined for wearing a shirt and tie and jacket because the NFL wants them to wear the gear that they can buy in the pro shop.
That goes to sponsorships and selling
100%.
merchandise because like the coaches in college, you have to wear whoever you're affiliated with. You know, we're Under Armour, Wisconsin is.
Yep.
So the guys wear Under Armour issued gear
Sure.
and yeah.
Because you know when I go to the games with you and we're tailgating or whatever, then we go down. Tell me what the name of that is again when they come off the bus. There's a name for that. It's the walk.
Oh, just the Arch March.
Arch March.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know all the coaches are in, and maybe some of the players.
Some of them are still wearing ties.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike dresses up typically. He doesn't usually wear a coat and tie, but he's usually dressed up.
Yeah. In
yeah.
some sort of. But I think,
Yeah.
and even I think in some of the southern states that there's still a little bit of a dress code.
The players, when we were back in the day at Michigan State, they all used to wear suits on game day.
Okay.
That has definitely changed. You know, some teams will wear their travel sweats. Yeah, it's definitely
I'm just glad that Mike doesn't have to wear
definitely not as polished as it once used to be.
Right. But I'm so glad he doesn't have to wear a football uniform.
Thank God.
Well, I think what I want to close with, which I think completely takes away our whole entire conversation before, and none of it matters. In February 2023, we were together at Red and White, and if I remember correctly, funny how things stick with you, it was lessons in chemistry that we read, and all of a sudden, you came up, I lead the book club, and you came up to the bar and said, there's been a shooting at Michigan State, and Logan's there, and I gotta go. I'm getting emotional talking about it. However, do you get through that with your child? And how did all of it go? I mean, I think you were maybe on the phone with him, or
I was texting Mike. Actually, Mike called me and I didn't answer. And he called again. And that's usually our rule. If you call twice in a row, you need to pick up.
Yep.
And so I picked up. I think it was during a break in book club. Like we were all replenishing our wine and he told me what happened. And I mean, your heart just stops.
Yeah.
It just stops. I mean, what any other parent would feel, you know, just dire fear, need to get a hold of your kid immediately.
Yep.
And thankfully, Logan, you know, he was a senior at the time. He was off campus. He didn't live on campus, and he was safe. And but you just can't not think about, you know, he graduated from a university where we knew so many kids, his peers, you know, his friends from high school, all of the football team. We knew so many of the kids on the team, even though we didn't coach there anymore. You know, you just think about all the things that a parent may be losing tonight, you know, and it breaks your heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just think that it just feels like we as a society are like, it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to my child. And then all of a sudden it did, and you weren't 15 minutes away. I mean, did you go there that night? Were you just on the phone and just knowing that he was okay and
on
whatever
the phone
he needed?
for a long time that night, making sure that he was okay, and probably ad nauseum to him.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably like, I'm good, Mom. I need to go. But we were on the phone with him for quite a while that night, checking in on our friends and their kids. I mean,
right, because there you have a family there. 15 years you spent there?
Yeah.
You had a family there and probably had some
lot of kids that Logan grew up with.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's end this on a happier note. If you had to guess, how many more words do you say in a day than Mike?
I don't know that I do anymore.
Oh.
Now that I'm an empty nester.
Okay.
I don't have kids at home.
Okay.
Gosh, I think on the average he might say more words than
Okay,
me.
because
He's in meetings all day. He's coaching. He's
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. What is he like with the kids?
Mike just has a motor that doesn't stop.
Okay.
He brings the energy.
Okay.
He's exhausting.
Yeah. And how about like are we
And
talking?
anyone that knows him knows that
that.
I am
Okay.
speaking the truth.
Okay. I mean, I've had a little bit of interaction with him here, and when he's come into Red and White, and I'm like, "Oh, Megan's upstairs." He goes, "I know where she is."
He can hear my voice. I have a
Exactly.
very loud,
I know, I
distinctive
love it.
voice.
I love it.
He knows
And
where
socially,
I am.
he's quiet. Like when he comes
He
in
is.
here,
Yeah.
Like he
there's
would
not
tell
a whole
you,
lot of words from
He would
him.
tell you that he's an introvert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Introvert.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely not, and I definitely have a loud voice, and yeah.
Yeah. So it's great. I love your story. I love everything about it. And thank you for just being vulnerable on some of the harder things. And what I hope happens is that people can see a little glimpse into some people's hearts and have an emotional connection. And, where did we lose that? And where have we not given the benefit of the doubt to some people? So
Yeah. Thank
Cheers,
you so
Megan.
much for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay.
You guys
You're
start
welcome.
drinking, and I'll do this to wrap up this episode. I want to say thank you to Megan. We're friends, but we appreciate you saying yes to do this. Nobody's bigger fans of what you guys do than we are, and love having you here. So thank you for being part of this. We want to thank our sponsors, Summit Credit Union. You can make any vision for your business happen with loan programs, great rates, and strategic solutions from Summit Credit Union, the #1 SBA lender in Wisconsin. Also brought to you by Havish and Rotier, and the personal injury firm Wisconsinites have counted on for more than 100 years. For help that you can trust, go to havish.com. Also brought to you by Red and White Wine Bar, which is where we are. Drink up, kick back, hang out, newly remodeled, great wines, bourbons, and now beer on tap. If you have a special occasion coming up, we'd love to help you take the stress away and handle the party for you. Email us redandwhite331@gmail.com. Brought to you by the spa at Autumn Organics, premium organic and vegan products and spa treatments for hair, body, and nails. The spa at Autumn Organics in Sun Prairie. And also by Evie & Co. Boutique, a curated collection of women's clothing, accessories, and home goods based in Wanakee. It means the world to us that you're part of what we do at this boutique with all the women in our lives in mind. We intentionally handpick each item with the goal of making you and your home look and feel beautiful, confident, and radiant. Shop evieandco.com. Episode number 2 of Sip and Spill is in the books. We'll tell you soon who's on and who's pouring for episode 3. Thanks for listening and watching.